Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the showcase for the Big Boy. And breathe. Look at this thing. It's here at long last. So many requests by so many people over a hell of a long time. The Big Boy, the Union Pacific Big Boy, is finally on the Triton Lego Railway. I had to take apart Berkshire in order to make this train, so whilst we have a new train, we've had to say goodbye to another. Mainly because I only ordered half the drive wheels necessary. But that was okay because I could use the drivers from Berkshire to make up for the other units. The parts from that train as well also really helped in putting this together. All of the plates, the rest of the bricks for the tender, it was put to great use, it really was. There's very few bricks left over. But look at this, we got another giant on the railway. We have a real locomotive as well, which is a big plus because I don't often build real locomotives. So as always, when it comes to these trains, I'm going to review it by going from front to back, cover all the details and any extras, and I hope you will enjoy. So, I say details, look at this front. This is terrible. So it's actually just a big old box sticking at the front. And yes, it's supposed to kind of look like that, but I couldn't make it look any better. The point of this is to kind of just... I actually don't know what the point of that is. Is there like a little ladder system or something where you can climb onto the front, clean the face or something? I don't know. Never really looked at the pictures too much. But yes, that's there. And it's very misplaced because my driving wheels are set up very differently to how the real locomotive is built. So we've got driving unit, then the first leading wheel, then the cylinder, then the second leading wheel. So with how this is arranged, this should be about here, and this should be about here. But that is a very difficult task, and with my building techniques, I'm not skilled enough to try and pull that off, so this will have to do for now. I did see someone try a technique that actually did work. It is this whole leading unit, but the rear leading wheels were actually... if I could speak, the rear leading wheels were attached to the front driving unit, and the swivel point was here, which was quite clever. Looks good, but because this is all one fixed unit, I would prefer it to be like that. So yes, I'm sacrificing some looks there, but at the end of the day, it's still a working locomotive. At the front, we have the face, of course. Now I also need to point out there is supposed to be a little shield that goes there for Union Pacific. It's a detail that you can't get in Lego, so for now I've just got some grey parts there. I've also got the number plates, which are very small, I know, but again this is taking parts from Berkshire and just using it for the time being. The bell underneath, kind of dangling off his forehead, and a very low funnel. Now I thought this would be a little bit taller, but I'm glad I left it like this, because obviously that's how it looks on the real locomotive. Just to quickly go across the side of the boiler. This is going to be a little bit difficult to see, but there are a load of bricks, some circular bricks, some serrated bricks, some Technic bricks you can see there, just to fill some kind of details that were underneath the boiler but above the wheels. It's a very cool train and it has all of these intricate moving parts, you know, the things that actually make it work. So I thought I'd use some of these bricks to kind of fill that space, give it some good looks, and I think I've done alright. Going across the top of the boiler, it's a little bit different, it's a lot smoother. There's very little detail, it's got to be said, but at the same time, there are very few pictures. Actually, I didn't find any pictures of the top of the boiler, nothing like this, so to say. And I kind of needed that sort of picture in order to understand what was going along the top. So I've got these two bigger dome pieces, I'm not quite sure what these are for. So you'll have to educate me in the comment section. And I've also got these other smaller bits just to fill the space between the larger details. But yes, that's all looking good. Speaking of large details, I almost forgot this grey thing existed. So when I was building this, I thought, oh shit, I need to put this grey detail in. But thankfully, when I was raising this and putting all these other details, I was like, yes, I can fit this in. I was going to use some serrated bricks, like, where is it? There we go. So like these ones here. But that ended up not happening because I didn't have enough to hand, which was very frustrating. So sadly, it's a bit bland. Well, it's not a bit bland, it's very bland. But looking down the side of it, you know, comparing all the details, it's obviously not going to be... Come on, camera, behave. Sorry about this. There we go. So yes, looking down at the side of the train, I mean, you're going to understand how details are going to work anyway. I don't build real life locomotives often, so trying to capture real details is still a struggle for me. Oh, that reminds me, since I'm moving the wheels, you may have already noticed that the cylinder detail is actually covered with a 2x4 tile piece. So that is what you're looking at there. This is the actual cylinder rod movement, which looks very nice. This is the same design I used for my 9F, but I've covered it with this 2x4 tile. I need to be very careful because it's quite delicate. But yeah, there we go. It looks a hell of a lot better like that. It actually really does. It brings out that cylinder rather than just that Technic brick sticking out. Nice and smooth. And oh yeah, that is another reminder. You can see right there, that is a 2x3 brick that is keeping these two units in one rigid place, because when I go to pick this up, the wheel units, the drive wheel units, want to wobble around and try to fall off whenever they can, because there's obviously so much weight in them. But because of that 2x3 brick in the middle, that has kept it rigid, if I can speak. Yes, it's kept it rigid, and it's a lot easier to pick up and move around. But obviously, if I go to put this on a layout, which I will do soon, that will need to be removed. But yes, that is most of the boiler done. Let's move it back over here. I need to shuffle forward to one of the better looking cabs that I have built. So the cab is obviously very much elevated. We've got all that space between the bottom of the rear wheels and the floor of the cab. Let me just detach the tender. I can take off the roof somewhat carefully. There we are. And we can get a good look inside. I really can't speak today. We have 3 members of the railway inside, and we do have minor details. 2 1x4s with some control panels, some miscellaneous bricks over there to kind of represent some more controls. He is sat down, which is another detail that I saw in the cab, so it's good to have that extra one there. And underneath all of those controls is an arch, which is supposed to represent the firebox. That coal needs to shovel somewhere. It can't just go against the wall now, can it? So that all looks good. That's all connected to some of the best looking windows for this. I was about to use some of those it's a 2x1 window, but it's 2 bricks tall, and it's something I've used for, at the moment I've got it on the Emerald Champion, and it's the same ones that you would get on the 2006 Winter Train. But I did see these. These are from the rubbish knockoff train set, which I used to build my super train station. These look very good, they fit very well. Not 100% accurate, but they are much better than any other windows I've got. So this looks amazing. I am so proud of this boiler. Now then, let's go to the tender. Not too much to say with the tender because it's basically just a big black box. It looked very similar to the Berkshire one as well in terms of size and kind of just general build. But then again, looking at some American locomotives, the tenders need to be big and somewhat same in design because it's a big country. You need all that fuel to be able to get across. So we got loads of wheels. This is the kind of standard false motor that you would get on like a Lego City diesel. We've also got the wheel setup here. I mentioned this in a work in progress video. This is the same arrangement used for the railway gun as well as my Greyhound tender. I've also got, just to skip over this detail, I'll go back to it one sec. I've got a little sort of ladder system going on here. It's very difficult to see again because of all the black bricks, but I've got 2 1x1 tiny slopes, whatever the original name was for them again. But yes, I've got those there to just represent some kind of steps, because I nearly used the actual brick built ones, the 2x1s, but they were way too big, so thankfully I was able to find some of these. And up top it is kind of the same as I would build any other tender. This is all just a bunch of tiles, and that is needed to be there, and it's all kind of walled off inside because that's how it is in real life. I think the actual hopper kind of goes down like that, and that's all the water side. But yes, that's very cool indeed. And speaking of this side, the details aren't exact, but I'm actually very surprised with how well this has turned out. So these are supposed to be handles, and they are very thin, like wiry handles, but the only thing I could do for that detail was a bunch of tiles. Again, doesn't look good, but that's all I can really do. I was able to get these 3 sort of rectangular details going across as well. Not quite sure what they are, but they're on the train, so here they are. I nearly went with a bunch of circular bricks, but after looking at a few more pictures, I'm glad I didn't go with that because this is a lot more accurate. These are the ladder bricks I mentioned earlier at the front of the tender. I've only got 2 of these. For some stupid reason, all the other ones have disappeared, so I can't continue the ladder to go downwards. But nonetheless, they're there, and we also got a light at the back, which I think looks very good in that configuration. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I also need to mention, I've got all of these slope bricks. These are 2x4 slopes that you also see here on the on the boiler. I've borrowed these ones in particular from the Emerald Champion's roof, so off camera I'm going to have to fix that. A few more stats about this model. Let me quickly shuffle back over. There we go. So, the boiler of this locomotive is longer than the Greyhounds, and it is longer than Emerald Champions. But even from tip to tip, including this little sticky outy bit here, it is exactly 2 studs shorter than Big Red's boiler. Just 2 studs. That's amazing. And this tender is on par. I've not really measured it up properly, but I've given it a rough estimate. And it's on par with the sizes of the second tenders used for the other giants as well. So this is basically the same thing. The only difference between this and my other giants is a second tender between the two with some more drive wheels. That is not going to happen, so don't get excited. But you should be excited for finally seeing a big boy on my railway. I'm so happy with this model. It's going to look great against my other giants, and I hope you enjoy this build. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you all ever so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.